Down by 4 with less than 40 seconds to play. Desmond Bane told Paolo Banchero, we are going to win this game. How the Magic played a full 48 minutes and needed every single one to beat the Mavericks today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 5th, 2026. It will be March 6th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season, coming to you today from the Kia Center. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, how the Orlando Magic stole a must-win game from the Dallas Mavericks, and why the win says a lot about what the Magic have been missing and who they really are. We're going to get to that. Plus, the bench gets its moment coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day. Every day you can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers who listen 5 days a week, who listen when we do our weekend episodes like we will be doing this weekend, who make us part of the regular podcast rotation, who make us their first listen of the day, who are part of our everydayer club. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Magic such a great and growing community. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Things look bleak. Like, undoubtedly, things looked bleak. It's kind of a lethargic, slow game for the Magic. We're going to get to all that. But the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts, is the Magic were down by 4 with 37 seconds to play. Paolo Banchero took, I would say, a poor three-point shot, a poor three-point decision, taking a pull-up three. Cooper Flagg got the ball, or the Magic, I think, got the rebound. Wendell Carter got the rebound, had the ball knocked away from him. Cooper Flagg went to the other end of the floor, drove on Carter, got the foul and the basket to put the Mavericks up by 4. After trailing by 10 in the fourth quarter, after giving away their own lead, trailing by as much as 11, the Magic found themselves on the wrong end of a loss they could not have. And I think everyone in that locker room or everyone in that huddle knew that. Everybody knew the Magic could not lose this game. Paolo told us that after the fact. You know, when we talked to him in the locker room just 5 minutes ago or so, 10 minutes ago or so, as I'm recording this, of course, he said, yeah, I'm looking at the standings every day. Like, he knows how close they are to 6th, how close they might be to 5th now. And he knows a loss like this would have been like losing to Toronto last year when the Magic lost to the Raptors twice at home last year. This is not a loss that you can have. But what is undeniable, too, is the confidence the Magic have. The belief that this team still has through everything this team has gone through. They didn't quit on this game. And say what you want about that. That is a good trait to have. Orlando is not quitting on anything. There's clearly frustrations. There's clearly a lot that's been left on the table. But there's no quit. Not in this team. And so they made the plays they had to win the game. Jalen Suggs, after thinking about it for a little too long, hit a humongous 3 to cut the lead to 1 with roughly 30 seconds to play. Enough time to get a stop and get down the court. Sizing up Cooper Flagg, they forced him into a tough mid-range shot that he missed. Wendell Carter grabs the rebound, funnels it over to Suggs, looks to the bench. They say, go, don't call timeout. Catch him off guard. They get down the court. Suggs gets to the paint, finds Wendell Carter, trailing behind him or sitting in the dunker spot behind him. Gets the defense to commit to him, dumps it off to Carter for a humongous dunk with 1.4 seconds to play. And then finally, the Magic get the last stop they need. forcing Chris Middleton to throw his inbound pass wide of Cooper Flagg, keeping him from getting to the basket and letting the ball trickle out of bounds for a 115-114 win. It does not matter how you win. Yes, we would love a prettier game. We will talk about how ugly this game was here in a minute. It does not matter how you win. All that matters and all the standings care about and all they're going to care about at the end of the season is, did you win? 1 point, 20 point, they all count the same. Now, 20-point win might give you a little more confidence, but they all count the same. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Now, could this be a turning point win? We're going to find out in Minneapolis on Saturday. We're going to find out in Milwaukee on Sunday. Certainly just on its face, winning this game, which you are supposed to win. And look, Dallas has got a lot of talented players. Klay Thompson turned the clock back, made 7 threes, got fouled on another 3, so he technically made 8 threes. Chris Middleton hit some humongous shots in the fourth quarter. This is a veteran team with a really good player in Cooper Flagg. If you let them hang around, they can beat you. And they got their pieces back tonight, their players back tonight that they hadn't had for a little while. But ultimately, this is the lesson the Magic need to take. It's going to take all 48 minutes to win any game. And as long as there is time left on that clock, if you play with energy, if you play with effort, if you play with confidence, you have a chance to win. Because this Magic team, for all its flaws, for all the things it has struggled with all season, this Magic team is super duper talented. Like, this team is everything we thought it could be, unrealized. And in little moments, in these little pockets, we see the team we all thought we were going to see at the beginning of the season. And again, the Magic are a half game back of the Philadelphia 76ers for 6th. They are, I believe, a game and a half or 2.5 games back of 5th for the Toronto Raptors. And they still got a game with the Raptors. That is for the tiebreaker as well. Magic do not own the tiebreaker with Philadelphia. There's still a quarter of a season left, 20 games left. That is a lot. It's not a lot of time. These games now ramp up in intensity. But there is still a lot of time for the Magic to make a push, for the Magic to climb these standings, for the Magic to be that team and see what happens in the playoffs. It's going to come down to the last game. We will see you in Boston in mid-April and early April to see where the chips fall at the end of the year. But the one thing that this Magic team has shown is their ability. What this team has struggled with all year is directing that ability in the right direction. Directing that ability toward success, toward the best version of themselves. Look, there's been a lot of talk among national media. We've addressed it in multiple ways from multiple angles on this show. The comments from Sunday where Jamal Mosley said that the second half the Pistons just played harder, and then Paolo came back and said, we failed to make adjustments. We failed to adjust. For the record, Paolo did say after today's game that the Magic do need to play harder. And again, that's on him as much as everybody else, but that is effort, and this game was lethargic. Like, that's the only way I could describe it. They just looked slow. And whether it's Dallas size giving him an issue, them not fouling, some early block shots, the Magic never really found an offensive rhythm, except in the second half, except in the third quarter, when their defense led with the energy. The Magic, for lack of a better way to phrase it, have struggled to put together a full 48 minutes all game. And yet this game is proof that if the Magic play to the last second, they can win, even when they don't play well. Even when they struggle, they can win. If they play with effort, if they play with intensity, if they play with focus. This game was not perfect. It was a bad game. Offense was sluggish. defense was rough, especially in the first half. They were struggling to keep guys in front of them. They were giving up loads of threes to a team that does not take a lot of threes. And again, Clay was out. He's back in this game. Take a ton of threes. The Magic had to fight and scratch and claw just to stay in this one, to give themselves a chance to assert themselves heading into the fourth quarter. And then giving that lead away, because the Magic do this. They can't shoot. They don't make shots. Giving the lead away, trailing by 4 to scratch and claw to ensure they won the game. You can take it negatively and say the Magic need to play better, and they do. But you can also take it positively and say, for whatever struggles, whatever difficulties this team has had, the fight is still there. The desire to win is still there. The talent to win is still there. And as has been the case throughout the entire season, it's just about bringing that out more consistently. I say this a billion times, especially after losses. Momentum is the next day's pitcher. Whether this win is a turning point, is a confidence boost, we're not going to find out until Saturday afternoon in Minneapolis against the Minnesota Timberwolves. This game could be meaningless. Minnesota's playing really well. Could run the Magic out of the gym. Or the Magic could be better, steal a win on the road, compete hard, split this road trip coming up with Milwaukee. One of these games is the game in hand on the Sixers, I believe. So no more advantage there. No more half game on the Sixers. This is about playing a full 48 minutes. While the Magic weren't perfect, they did that to win this game. The Magic do not get there, though, without the support of one of their biggest weaknesses of the year. Let's talk about the bench coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. It is crunch time in college basketball. It is the last weekend of the regular season for the men's side, conference tournaments for the women's side. This is when you start getting your brackets ready. And looking ahead to this weekend's games are Florida Gators, who are very much possible to defend their national championship, are getting ready to face, if I could find my odds here. Let me see if I can find this. Are getting ready to face Kentucky this weekend. But Florida is currently 4th in the odds to win the national championship at plus 800. They are currently, if I could find it, they don't have conference tournament odds. They are currently, 4th at plus 140 to reach the Final Four. On the bubble, you could find, I think you can find some UCF. There's no UCF odds on the bubble to make the NCAA tournament, but Miami of Ohio, minus 900 to make the NCAA tournament. They're going to make it. Do not worry. If they're not in, something is very, very wrong. You can even find, let's see if we can find UCF's odds here real fast before we log off. UCF currently sitting at plus 30,000 to win the NCAA tournament. That's a fun one. No matter what you're looking to get into, whether it's rivalry games, ranked matchups, or whatever, you can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out as college basketball intensifies. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. If you want to get even more locked on, get even lockeder on, you can join the Everydayer Club. The Everydayer Club gets you access to an ad-free audio feed of this podcast, as well as access to the Locked On Discord server. So you can talk with other Magic fans in our growing community, as well as other NBA fans in the Locked On NBA Discord server. You can check it out today at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com. to learn more. The last few years, or certainly 2024, one of the Magic's biggest strengths was their bench. They would throw so much depth at you. They would have scoring. Mo Wagner was a walking bucket. Cole Anthony could get hot. Joe Ingles, Goga Batadze. Like, this is a deep and talented team. Like, there are NBA players. Like, we'll talk about Noah Penda here in a minute. Jace Richardson's a really promising rookie. There are NBA level players who are not playing right now for the Orlando Magic. This team has some depth. But certainly because of injuries, that depth has been hurt. That depth isn't so deep anymore. And so that is one of the big questions for the Orlando Magic is, can the Magic get enough scoring from their bench? Because that was one of their superpowers back in 2024. They had, I think, the fifth highest scoring bench in the league in 2024. In 2025, before Mo Wagner's injury, they were top 10 in the league in bench scoring. And again, remember, a lot of injuries, it's going to hurt your bench depth. And that's not the case anymore. The Orlando Magic this year are 27th in the league in bench scoring at 31.3 points per game. A lot of that is, yes, Mo Wagner has been out, and he's a big-time bench scorer. And look, all the teams below the Magic are in the playoffs. Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Houston. The Knicks are 26th. The Raptors are 25th. The Wolves are 24th. The Cavs are 23rd. Bench scoring may not be the most important thing. However, because this team has been so injured and because this team does have offensive problems, having a high-scoring bench is a benefit for this team. And it has been one of the big struggles because, your main star in Paolo Banchero hasn't quite been a main star. Franz Wagner's been out of the lineup for more than half the season now. Jalen Suggs isn't much of a primary creator. Desmond Bane is improved, but not a great primary creator. This team needs a quality bench. And that has been one of the struggles. Tonight's game was about the bench. With the Magic starters looking lethargic and struggling to find cohesion, and we'll talk about all of them in a minute, the Magic's bench gave this team the lift and energy that it needed. Whether it's Mo Wagner coming in, doing Mo Wagner things with his post work, taking a charge. He now has a team-high 5 charges drawn this year, according to he had 4 entering the game, according to NBA.com's hustle stats. He took a charge in this game. We'll see if they count that, but he's got a team-high 5 charges. That's what he does. He lifts this team, especially at home. Tristan da Silva came in, shot a perfect 7 for 7, including 4 for 4 from 3 for a team-high 19 points. Hit several big baskets in the fourth quarter. When the Magic were struggling to score, they started 6 for 22 from the floor in the fourth quarter. That's how you give away a 10-point lead in addition to fouling a lot. A huge lift from Tristan da Silva, a guy who just fills in and is playing a lot better right now. Whatever wall he hit earlier, whatever shoulder issue he was dealing with earlier, seems like it's all good. He's playing really, really well right now. Wendell Carter has been a huge lift as a signing. 8 points in this game, 3 for 9 shooting, 2 for 7. Like, again, not the greatest shooting night from him. I think he sometimes thinks he's the hero and the main character of the story, but been a huge difference maker defensively. Huge lift and a confident shooter. Like, the Magic need that. Goga Batadze, who's been out of the rotation, started on Tuesday, had a great game, came in and had another solid game. 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Finishing around the basket, making things happen. Not afraid to use his fouls. Magic foul too much, but sometimes you got to use them. And then you have Noah Penda, who's been out of the rotation, coming in to fill in for Jonathan Isaac's minutes, making these energy and hustle plays. Defending Cooper Flag and defending him well, giving him a big body to put in front of him. I'm going to see if the matchup data is up yet. That would be awesome if it is, because I would imagine Noah Penda was one of the better matchups on Cooper Flag all night. I really love Noah Penda's defense. Dude is fearless. And while, yeah, he's out of control on offense and not a great scorer, made a lot of big offensive rebounds, had a lot of open shots that if those go down, the Magic are in business. The bench has been a struggle all year. Like, they're just not scoring. Like, I would continue to argue they need more offensive-minded players. There's just too many guys who are not good enough on offense. And again, that's kind of the Magic's issue right now, is they don't have playmakers and decision makers. And that's a big part of what this offense is supposed to be. That's a big part of what successful teams have. You look at the Pacers, you look at Thunder, last year's two finals teams. Everybody on that team is a decision maker. Everybody on that team is capable of taking you off the dribble. They're smart. They're not making bad decisions, but that's what the Magic are missing. Like, Paolo and Franz and Dez and Jalen have to do a lot, have to do too much. And that's where a stronger bench can help. But tonight the Magic get 27, 33, 37, 45 points off their bench. Let's double check that. 8, 14, 33, 37, 45. I could add. I was told there would be no math. The Magic get 45 points off their bench. That is an unbelievable boost. And yeah, 19 of them come from Tristan da Silva, who's played really well. And is the Magic's best offense, most of the best offense player off the bench, but Tristan's pretty close. Tristan's gaining in confidence. This game was about as much about the energy the bench brought as the hero plays that the Magic made at the end. Because the starters didn't have it. And we'll get to those numbers here in a minute. The starters didn't have it. And without the bench changing the energy of the game, we're sitting here talking about a devastating loss. We're sitting here talking about staring up at the Heat in the standings. We're sitting here frustrated that the Magic let another opportunity squander. This is a team. Like, everybody on the team will tell you they are connected, that they still fight for each other. And, again, there might be bigger issues that we'll solve in the offseason. There might be a disconnect that needs to be resolved or just a change that needs to be made. And certainly, like, personnel is part of it too. Like, the Magic need better players, or they need players that do certain things better than what their current players do. But this group wants to win. And they again proved that tonight. Let's talk about the starters then. We'll talk about how the Magic looked slow and lethargic. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There is something for everyone. So the board is set, the flavors are ready, and I've got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft, because when I like to drink these energy drinks, when I like to have these protein things, I have a sweet tooth. I'm not going to deny it. I like those sweet flavors. I'm going to go with Confetti Craze, because while it's not overly sweet, it's got this delicious blend of rich and buttery fresh baked confetti cake, smooth vanilla frosting, and a sprinkle of sweetness in every sip. It's like, I'm big into the milkshake. Just give me a vanilla milkshake. And Confetti Craze does the trick. Notes of vanilla frosting and sugary sprinkles, smooth dessert-like taste profile, and rich indulgent sweetness from start to finish. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. And they got a lot of fun flavor innovations planned, so this is not the end. We'll have an expansion draft next year. Find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Again, find your new favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure is on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'll be talking to you for this ad read, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. With Indeed, you have less stress, spend less time, and get more results. Because when you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners to this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get you your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Dallas Mavericks 115-114. I want to start with the guy who deserves the biggest shout out, the game winner himself, Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter finished with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 5 for 6 shooting, 1 for 1 from 3. I'll get to that number here in a minute. 4 for 4 from the foul line. I thought this was an awesome game from Wendell Carter. He had some foul trouble early in the game, but I generally thought that he was a huge presence in the paint. He did a good job deterring the Mavericks. Like, Daniel Gafford got away from him a little bit. The Magic were just very slow and sluggish attacking offensive rebounds early in the game. I thought Carter did a great job boxing out and trying to clear space for his teammates to grab rebounds. But I thought he just owned the paint. He never really settled for threes. He did take 1 3, and I do want to get to that note in a minute. He did take a 3, but most of the time, if he's on the perimeter, gave a good hard pump fake and drove to the basket. He was determined to get to the basket and play with energy off the dribble. And again, like, so much of the Magic's identity is about their energy and about the way that they play. And so what stood out tonight is when the Magic played with energy, how successful they were. Like, the game turned in the third quarter because of Jalen Suggs, because Jalen Suggs played with loads of energy and just, imposed himself on the game. It was, again, it was inconsistent at times, but the Magic really made things happen and really did a good job. Again, when they played with energy, like the players who played with energy, Tristan Da Silva, Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze, Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs, those are the guys that ultimately made a difference in this game. And again, it's not that other guys didn't play with energy, all the time. There's just like this general lethargy throughout the game. Like, the offense moved slowly. Like, going from one action to the next was a hassle. The ball stayed in Paolo's hands. He was waiting for the next action to run or the next set to go. Like, things just didn't flow. And it wasn't anything really Dallas was doing. They weren't disrupting any of these actions. It just didn't flow. And again, that's a system problem. Like, again, like, we could blame the whole system. And I've said this a million times. I do think there are some structural systemic problems that need to be resolved in the offseason. And, you can guess where that's going to come from. But that's on the players. That's on the players, like, making the reads they're supposed to make, that they're struggling to make and have struggled to make it at various times this season. It was just it just felt like there was gum in the gears and things were just slow to churn. And so, when Wendell Carter plays with this energy, it was clear, like, he was just playing kind of free and loose and moving into the spots that he was supposed to, making the reads. Jalen Suggs, like I said, had some really good energy tonight too. 17 points, 7 assists, which is huge. 6 for 14 shooting, 4 for 11 from 3. Again, maybe took too many threes, not getting to the paint enough. I think that was a general problem throughout the game too, is that at times the Magic settled for threes. And look, Orlando had 56 points in the paint. They were 28 to 52 in the paint. They eventually did what they needed to do to get to the paint. Fourth quarter especially, a lot of threes. A lot of them were open, but there's a lot of this, like, I'm scared of the shot getting blocked. I'm driving to pass instead of driving to score. There's just a lot of that throughout the game. But Jalen had that run in the third quarter. That changed the game. Got this weird shot to go down. He like actually lost the ball. It was a turnover, and it deflected off a Mavericks player into the basket. Very next play, he just gets into Chris Middleton. He just gets into him, forces the ball away, knocks the ball away, goes for the ball, gets a loose ball foul. Chris Middleton commits a technical foul. That was a turning point in the game. That's what fed the Magic to take an 11-point lead in the third quarter. That's what Jalen Suggs does. That's how he flips games on its head. And look, the shooting's not where it needs to be. He's settling for too many threes, I think. But he made big threes when he had to. He made the big three at the end of the game, and made some big shots throughout. And again, just it's all about energy. This team for so long was about its energy. Again, that's what defined this team, is they just played harder than anybody. And so, we could talk about what was said on Sunday. That's been a problem all year. Honestly, that's not surprising that is the thing, because that's the baseline of what the Magic do, is their energy. And when that energy's off, and when the other team's playing harder than you, because Wendell Carter said it on Monday, it should never be a question whether the other team's playing harder than us. And while, I wouldn't say Dallas necessarily played harder than the Magic for stretches of this game, but you could just tell, the energy was off. There was just a lot of points in this game where Dallas played well. I'll give Dallas their credit. They played well. Klay Thompson had a throwback game. Chris Middleton had a throwback game. Cooper Flagg played really well in his first game back. They had a lot of guys play well. They played a good game, and the Magic caught them on a good night for them. But Dallas is not a team that's going to beat you. They're going to leave the door open for you. Obviously, they left the door open with 38 seconds left. The Magic went and walked through it and closed it behind them. They're going to make mistakes. And every time Dallas seemed like it was making mistakes that would let the Magic race ahead, Orlando would just shoot itself in the foot. They wouldn't make them pay for the mistakes. And look, that's what Detroit ultimately did on Sunday, is every time Orlando made a mistake, a turnover, a missed shot, Detroit punished them. And that's the difference between good teams and mediocre teams. And look, the Magic are 5 games over 500. They're in the race for 6. They are a good team. As frustrating as this season has been, as weird as their statistical profile looks, they are a good team. They're not a championship level team. They're not a maybe get out of the first round level team, but they are a good team. Not as good as we want them to be, but a good team. But the difference between them and a championship level team is championship level teams punish your mistakes. And in the playoffs, you've got to punish teams for your mistakes. And that's what the Magic are missing right now. A big part of that is this was a weird game for both Paolo and Desmond Bane. Paolo Banchero finished with 16 points, 7 for 17 shooting, 1 for 6 from 3, 1 for 2 from the line, the 2 free throw attempts, very early in the game, very weird. 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 turnovers. Magic were even in his minutes, so take that plus minus, people. Paolo was foul hunting and not getting fouls, and that frustrated him, but just moving slow. Again, I don't know if he was sick, kind of being in the locker room with him. It kind of sounded like he was a little bit under the weather. It's just speculating on that, which again happens. They're human beings. It happens. I've been dealing with something all week. It happens. Just looks slow. And again, this has been my point all year. The crux of my criticism for Paolo all year has been the team gets its energy from its best player. And when the best player slows down, the rest of the team's going to slow down. And look, Paolo is waiting for things to happen. Again, like most of the year, Paolo's not trying to do the wrong things. He is actively trying to do the right things. He's actively trying to help make this team win. And again, there may be something that he can't reach back into that we expect him to have to take over games and win them, or he didn't have it tonight. He had it on Tuesday. He didn't have it tonight. He still did things that ensured the Magic won. I didn't like that 3 that he took at the end of the game that led to the Cooper Flagg shot that made it a 4-point game. I thought that was the worst shot he took all game. But again, just the whole game just felt lethargic. And Desmond Bane was a great example of this too. Desmond Bane was 5 for 13 from the floor, 1 for 3 from 3, 3 for 3 from the foul line. So again, like everyone else, did not get to the line enough. Paolo took only 2 free throws. Dez only took 3. Those are guys, Paolo averages 7 per game. Dez averages 4 or 5 per game. You expect those guys to get to the line, and they didn't. Dez struggled to finish around PJ Washington and Dallas's length. He did have 8 rebounds, did have 3 assists. So he did some good things, and I thought he was really good defensively. He fouled too much, especially in the fourth quarter, but really got into it defensively, which I really like about him in this game. But again, just something felt off. And so the reason why this is a 1-point game is Dallas played really well. Orlando played meh. And even Orlando was up by 10 in the fourth quarter, was running away with this thing, and then couldn't hit a shot, and then like reached down deep and gutted out a victory. Like Dallas deserved to win this game. Like Dallas was probably the better team. But the scoreboard's what matters. And the Magic simply found a way. All you can ask for, all that matters. A lot to clean up. Got to be sharper, crisper against better teams. And they're going to play a really good team on Saturday in Minneapolis. And, Milwaukee's struggling right now. But that's one you have to have as well. The Magic just found a way. And sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to pull games out of nowhere. You got to pull games out of nowhere. Snatch victory from the jaws of defeat and take the win and move on. The Orlando Magic defeat the Dallas Mavericks 115-114. They will be back in action Saturday at the Target Center against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We will be there for that one. So we'll see you in Minneapolis for that afternoon game on Amazon Prime. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himmel, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of my you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And be sure to check out our Everydayer Club at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. You can get access to our ad-free audio feed of this show, plus access to the Locked On Discord server. Again, check it out at lockedonmagic.supercast.com. As always, thank you for your support. For those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel on audio. Make sure you make your second listen NBA Game Night on Locked On NBA, where I'm sure they'll be talking about this one. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back again Saturday night, afternoon game. So we'll be out Saturday night. We'll be back Saturday night to recap the Magic's game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.